pirate voice, and I would get a little bit of that pirate voice. What's up, you cyberpunks? Mark with Cardivox Academy here, and today I'm very excited because we are checking out a band that I've wanted to talk about for a very long time, The Who. Now, The Who is pretty awesome, and by the way, I promise I'm going to make it through this whole video without a single pun. No puns. If you catch me in a pun, put it in the comment below. I'll give you 1,000 Cardivox points. They're not really good for anything, but they'll be yours and you'll have them. But The Who is really cool because they are from Mongolia and they mix their traditional music, right, with metal and rock, and it sounds awesome. Now, I haven't heard this song yet, but I first learned about them when I was playing Jedi Fallen Order. They did a track, if I understand it correctly, it was the same band at the beginning, and they've got this really cool sound. They do this thing called throat singing, which has developed all around the world, but, I think a lot of people, when they think throat singing, they think Mongolia because they have such a cool sound. We're going to talk a little bit about it. One little caveat, I am not a throat singer, right? I've spent the past 11 years being a metal vocalist and a metal singer, so I'm not an expert in throat singing per se, so this is going to be a little bit more of me just kind of as an observer, kind of as an observer, figuring out what I can piece together. Finally, if you're new to the channel and you enjoy the content, please be sure to like, share, and subscribe. Helps out a lot, and we do have a Patreon if you want to go over there and support the channel. Check it out. Might be something you like. But anyways, let's go ahead. Let's check it out. The Who, Sad But True, originally a Metallica song. That's all I know. Okay, that seems like a good pause point. Considering I've heard the original Metallica version of Sad But True, their song that they wrote probably hundreds of thousands of times, I've got kind of an idea of where I want to stop. So already this is awesome, right? Now, again, this is me just more of an observer, not an expert at Karguria, which is from what I understand, one of many types of throat singing, and oftentimes what people will use as a foundation for other styles of throat singing. But always punching the mic. But what I hear is initially, I was expecting a lot of the traditional, or what I perceive as traditional throat singing sound. But what I'm hearing a lot of initially at the front is just kind of like a false chord grunt. Hey, yo, right? And that's a lot of where we start when we learn our false chord vocals. And it, in and of itself, as you're hearing here, can sound really powerful, can sound really, really cool, right? Now, as the song went on, we started to hear that more familiar throat singing sound. Now with this, from my understanding, it's pretty ancient, it's pretty old, and hearing it in conjunction with newer music to me just sounds awesome, sounds so cool. When we're doing these Kargaria sounds, this throat singing like I'm not an expert on it. By all means, don't judge me too harshly. But when we're doing these sounds, it can be an excellent way to feel the false chords and feel what they're like. So a lot of people use Kargaria to learn false chord gutturals. There is a bridge point between that noise and like a false chord scream. Right? We can get from one to the other. Now, let's go ahead and keep going. Oh, and by the way, I got to go grab it. Oh, so at the beginning, he was using a jaw harp, and I have one of those. I bought it to play around with tongue position. Let me go grab it super quick. Yeah, this little thing right here. We'll talk about it a little bit later, but this can actually be a really cool tool for metal vocalists. So we'll talk about that here in a sec. Let's listen to a little bit more, and then let's talk a little bit about the throat singing itself, the dynamics, kind of how it works, and how we can use it safely, because vocal endurance and vocal health is extremely important, and that's why we're here. So let's go. So cool. Okay, that's a good place to chill. So this, about I want to say a year to a year and a half ago, I kind of taught myself to a degree how to do this sound, because a lot of my students were like, hey, especially the ones who already had a false chord sound, but they were having resonance issues or breath issues, or, it still hurt even though it sounded right, because there are a lot of times when our vocals sound right, but they hurt. So we're doing it wrong. We need to figure out why. And sometimes having an extra set of ears can be really helpful. But a lot of them would say, hey, I learned to do false chord with this Kargaria sound. So I was like, well, I should probably figure it out. I should probably know what that is. Right. So I kind of spent a couple days pacing around the old apartment. And what I found is that, not surprisingly, you really can think of it. You can aim this very similarly to a metal vocal. In fact, almost the same way. So I started out with like this pirate voice, right? Because it just kind of sounded like on the right track, like this pirate voice. And I would get a little bit of that pirate voice. But I was like, it doesn't have that same punch. And then I thought to myself, well, okay, let's do what we know. Let's take a false chord grunt. And let's voice underneath it. Now, generally speaking, with a false chord scream, we want to leave our vocal folds completely out of the mix. So I knew this was going to be a little bit tricky, right? And I kind of got that sound. And I was like, okay, we're getting closer. What do I need next? And so I was like, okay, well, our any scream we do, any vocalization we do is phonation, breath support, and resonance placement. Those three things, that's our trifecta. That's our holy trinity, so to speak, right there. So I was like, okay, when I do my gutturals, I aim them at my nose. It sounds very throaty, but it's all here. As far as the resonance placement's concerned. The distortion I feel in this position, and you should too. And so I took that, right? And I sort of unlocked it. It took a couple days, right? It wasn't like super easy, but um, when we're doing this, it's so fascinating because we can hit like almost two notes at once. And I'm certainly not there yet, but there really is a good crossover here. If you are having trouble feeling your false chords, that can be a huge thing for people. Some people, they have trouble even doing this, which is oftentimes where we'll start with our false chord screams. We don't start at the finish line. We start early and soft and slow. This can be a good option for you. Some people, this comes very naturally to. Right now, with this, it can be a little scratchy. It can make you cough. If it does, just take a break. No issues at all. But a lot of what we're going to do is we're going to control the cool sound with like our tongue and our lips, which is exactly what we do with our false chord screams, right? The only difference between this and a guttural is my tongue and my lips, right? And we heard a lot of that with the singer. I wish I knew his name. And it seems like multiple of them sing. We heard a lot of that when he was going, we heard some of that tongue movement in the background. Let's keep going here because there's certainly a lot that we can talk about. But this right here, when you hit it, it really feels just like a rumbly speaking voice. It doesn't hurt and it's not uncomfortable at all. So let's go. Now, because I know we're close to the end of the song, and we may go back a little bit, but before we talk about this, it's really important that we have some sort of understanding of our anatomy, right? Oftentimes, when we are doing these screams, and vocals such as this, we can feel a little bit lost because we don't understand what it looks like inside of our body, right? So when people say false chords, when they're talking about false vocal folds, we can also call them vestibular folds or ventricular folds, right? They're just above the vocal folds. They're kind of these like fleshy little flaps. They protect your airway from liquid if your epiglottis doesn't do its job when you swallow, covering up that airway. But essentially, we can use those to sort of rattle around as well. Common misconception: they are not below your vocal folds; they're above them. You can see that in any diagram of laryngeal anatomy. But essentially, what we do is we bring them closer together. Right, we bring them closer together to create these rumbly sounds. So if you're going to try this, right, which feel free, just take it slow, be safe, be responsible about it. Don't do it for like 45 minutes, and if it hurts, take a break. But when we do this, we should feel the distortion above our vocal folds. Now, if you don't know where your vocal folds are, they're right behind the hard bump in your throat, the Adam's apple, right, the biggest process of the larynx, right here. That's where your vocal folds are. So if you're feeling it on or below, you're kind of in the wrong track. If we feel things below, we're often pulling our larynx down. If you feel it above, like it's sort of at the base of the tongue, you're feeling some vibration on the soft palate there, then you're on the right track. So when I do this, I feel vibration on the actual soft palate. Now, of course, my false chords are together; they are vibrating. But a well placed scream and a well placed distorted singing style, really, regardless of what it is, involves multiple structures. We have this idea that a false chord scream is only the false chords, nothing else. But the fact of the matter is, our arytenoid cartilages, they get together and they kind of slosh around a little bit. Our soft palate, it shakes around a little bit. Even some people, their tonsils, my tonsils, shake around like crazy when I'm doing my high vocals. So it's something to think about, right? Understanding your anatomy is just as important for us as vocalists as it is for a guitarist to be able to, yeah, I've said this in other videos, for a guitarist to know the anatomy of their guitar in and out, or a drummer, right? Whoever it may be. Now, we're going to go ahead and finish out here, but I just want to say that these dudes are they're just champions, right? I love that they're singing in Mongolian. Like, I'm not too familiar with the language, but what a great sound for rock and metal. It's got like a lot of and right? It's got like a lot of that sound to it. This is just super cool. Let's go ahead. Let's go back just a little bit, because there was a lot of this false chord. I'm sorry, this Kargaria sound here just after this point. How about this awesome Shaman, by the way? Gosh, this video is cool. That's so cool. Dude, that guy looks so cool. That guy looks so cool. All right, so one thing I've started doing in these videos is kind of wrapping out what we learned. Again, this was a lot of fun for me because I feel like I'm more of an observer, right? A listener of this, but a lot of what we hear is our false chord grunts, and then moments of throat singing, right? Now, there are a lot of cool bands that do this. The Who, I think, is really, really awesome. There's another guy. He does a Linkin Park song. I become so numb, I can feel you there. He does something like that. If I can find it, I'll link it in the description. But anyway, when we're doing any sort of distorted, any sort of raspy vocal style, it is a combination of three things together. It is our resonance placement. That's what takes the grit and moves it out of our throat I should say off of our vocal folds. It is our breath support, which helps everything. Like if there is a part of the voice, it helps it, right? It helps with the grit movement, just like our resonance placement does. It helps get our voice into the right position. You know, when we're doing this, we need to be singing here. Nice and forward into the mask. Now, some people call this the mask. Some people call this the mask. When I say the mask on my channel, I'm referring here. Hear how that's very bright? Versus here. That's in my throat. That's throaty. Throaty singing right here versus bright. That's really important for our metal screams. as well as for, well, this, if you want to do it. And take it slow. As with anything, take it slow. You can practice a little scratchy voice. Hey, right here. Oh, that doesn't hurt. That shouldn't be uncomfortable at all because it's very gentle. Then you can kind of put those things together. So again, if you enjoyed the video, please be sure to like, share, and subscribe. It is a lot of fun to make these, and I love watching the channel grow. You know, initially when I started, I didn't really care how many subscribers I got, but I'll be real, that 100,000 is looking close, and I'm a hungry man. I want it. So definitely feel free to like, share, and subscribe. And do check out our Patreon. It is a lot of fun. We hang out there. We play video games. We talk vocals with, we have a specific section just for students to talk vocals and technique. So it's a lot of fun. Stay positive, stay happy, stay friendly, and as always, many thanks, much love. I'm Mota.